All right, so now we have Astal Q&A. Astal has a lot of questions to get through. I apologize. But if you have any questions for Astal, I don't know why I'm referring to myself in the third person. If you have any questions for me, you can put them in the chat and I will try to answer them. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and pull up some of them. Just for reference here, the reason for the Q&A is because I reached 100 subscriber milestone on YouTube. I didn't know what else to do. I was thinking about making like a collage of like 100 missed ultimates in Overwatch because I tend to do that a lot. I felt like that was too hard in like the time frame I had, so I was just like, you know what, we'll just do like a Q&A. And I got quite a few questions, so I like what I got here so far. So Azur DLPT on YouTube, the comment section, he asked, do you look like on your profile picture? Kinda, I guess. I got brown hair. Well, I guess my profile picture on YouTube is a little bit different. Same one on Twitch. But it's kind of the same. I don't have cat ears, obviously. I'm not like going around wearing cat ears. I am not an actual cat, unfortunately. Apologies. Just a VTuber model. But yeah, I got brown hair. I got brown eyes. I got brown eyebrows. Face reveal when? Face reveal when I probably never, when I feel like it maybe. I have a bit of a mustache and a beard, but like my beard is like, how to put this? Not really kept well together, so it's kind of like all over the place. It's not like as clean as like the profile picture or like as clean shaven as my model. But it's a little bit longer. About the same. And then mustache is like, honestly, I should probably shave off my mustache. I feel like it does nothing for my look. I tried to go with something that kind of looked similar to my features, but also, you know, I kind of look a little weird too, so I don't know. Are you a reincarnation of Michael Jackson? No, I'm not a reincarnation of Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson died while I was still alive, I think. Yes, no, he did. I'm not a reincarnation. That would be impossible. That would be statistically impossible. I don't believe it, but okay. Well, Hulk, I'm sorry to disappoint you. Do you want me to be Michael Jackson's? I can be Michael Jackson for you. Hee hee. Yeah, like that. Tyler Davis 7359, also on YouTube, asked, any tips for Kiriko / healers? I don't know if this was like a troll question or if you're actually serious, because I did make a whole healing like video as that not being a support but more of a healer. But if you are serious, the video itself was like a particular situation where I had to heal more and I didn't really have too much time to TPS. I guess you could argue that I could have DPS'd more and then healed a little bit less, but I've always been more of a like healer-centric in Overwatch and just did DPS when I had time to do TPS. That's generally how I've always played the game. And it's helped me like so far, even into Overwatch 2 when they like had the whole fiasco of changing like, I'm a support, not a healer, and yada yada. But in terms of like tips for Kiriko or any like supports or healers that you're playing, it's really just trying to find that good balance between when you can DPS, when you can heal, when you have teammates that don't need any kind of like healing, like they are at full HP. You could even do it like from some coaches' perspectives, they're just above critical and you're just barely keeping them alive. Then you can throw the DPS in there. How I usually play is I make sure they're full HP and then I switch to DPSing, or at least really close to full HP. If they're missing like a half a tick or something, I don't care if you're spamming I need healing at me, I'm not gonna pay attention to you. I'm sorry. Then you can like DPS away. One thing that'll help you out, especially if you're not really good at like mechanics like I am, is learning like good positioning and map awareness and like game sense. If you can really get down like good positioning for like a support, which is a lot of the time just like hiding behind a wall, not peeking out, getting like good angles to where you can see everybody but you're out of like the enemy's point of view. There's a whole bunch of guides out there, but that would be like one thing I would definitely like as a tip to kind of like focus on. I hope that helps out. I didn't really like practice these beforehand, so that's kind of like all I got for that. So the next set of questions were on Discord. Progu asked how I got into gaming. There's many ways I could go about answering this question, but for the sake of simplicity, I got into gaming probably because of my father. He had a PlayStation 2 at the time when I was like really young, and I would see him playing, and I was just interested in watching. Like he'd play like Final Fantasy X on the PlayStation 2, and I really was just interested in like watching. But I feel like I like have to thank my birth dad as like my reason why I got into gaming in a sense. I felt like I kind of just grew with it. I got a Game Boy Advanced because I feel like most people start out with handhelds, right? I guess I had like those small little games on your phone, like Snake or something, but those don't really count, okay? Like old track phones or something like that. I feel like Game Boy would have been like the very starts as like the first kind of games I played. I'm literally digging through like one of my old packets of Game Boy games. So I have like I still have these, by the way. Well, I don't want to get rid of my games. So there's this like SpongeBob SquarePants games, and I can't tell you when I got like these. I have Dogs 2. I was a kid, guys. Come on, don't harsh on me too much. There's a Yu-Gi-Oh! Ultimate Masters because I was really into Yu-Gi-Oh! At the time. It's a fun card game. It's a little bit unbalanced, so you might not enjoy it, but I enjoyed it. I think this was like one of the longer GBA games I got was Dragon Ball Z, The Legacy of Goku 1 and 2 on Game Boy Advanced. And it kind of goes through like the start of Dragon Ball Z up until, if you know Dragon Ball Z lore, up until like the Cell Saga. And I think a little bit of the Cell Saga, and then it stops afterwards. I have Cars on Game Boy Advanced. I have Dogs 1. I have cats. I'm a cat lover. I have Yoshi's Island. I remember playing this game. Super Mario Advance 3 and Yoshi's Island. There were so many times I got stuck on this and wasn't able to like do anything. So I had to get, one of my mother's friends was like a kind of a bit of a like Mario gamer. So she helped me out a bunch in trying to like pass the levels for that I couldn't on myself. Tetris was also a game that I played. My mom really likes Tetris. Like she's not much of a gamer, but this was like, if she had to choose a game that she really enjoyed, it was probably Tetris. So that's probably why I have it. Scooby-Doo, like the Game Boy Advance Scooby-Doo from like the live action movie. Anything else? I think that's everything. Is there anything in the, nope. And then I kind of got these afterwards, but they were Tony Scott, like they were old Game Boy Color games. So like the thick ones, right? There was Tony Hawk Pro Skater, and then I think this, I don't have the sticker on here, but I think it was called Cubix Revolution or something like that. If you know what that is, Cubix was an old 3D animated TV show that if you went back and watched it now, you would have, you would be a little bit, it's not aged well, is what I'm trying to say. Let me actually see if I can pull that up here. It was like an old children's show.
In the future, not so far away, it's the dawning of an all-new day. Robots for everyone. Machines that care could be our friends, side by side until the end. Robots for everyone. They build special powers right inside.
Hundreds of models from which to choose with emotion-driven EP.
When the worlds of good and bad collide, gotta fight all day and night. Yeah. 'Cause you got the robot who sets everything right. Cubix, powers beyond compare. Cubix, evil forces better beware. Cubix, in trouble we will always be there. Robots for everyone. Cubix.
Yeah, so oh my goodness, dude. That was like a show that I was like kind of into as a kid. It was like, I guess like many of you as like children, you always got up and watched like Saturday morning cartoons. If you're like from the US, I don't know if other countries did that, but that was like one of the shows that showed up on like 4Kids in the US. So that was, I got this as like it's like a racing game. It doesn't work anymore because I think the battery needs to be replaced in it because these old games are a bit old. I don't know how to describe it. It's run out of its like juice. So, but yeah, that was that, and that eventually led me getting a DS, and from there I got a whole bunch of games on DS. but I won't go into, I didn't really play too many of them. I won't go into too many details. But my big thing with DS games was Pokemon. And the first Pokemon game I played was the remake of Pokemon Gold called Pokemon Heart Gold. Heart Gold was like the DS remake for Pokemon. That got me really into Pokemon games for a little bit. So I played like Soul Silver, I played Platinum, the generation that came out like right before this one. I played Black version. And that's kind of where my Pokemon fascination ended. I also had a PS2 that was handed down to me from my father. Had a bunch of games on that. That was like my main system. It had all like the kid games, but my mother ended up selling it. So I no longer have my PS2 and the games. Otherwise, I would still have it and I'd be able to tell you guys like, hey, I played these games on it. I used to play, I know this isn't really the question. I just like going through my entire gaming history. I think it's cool. But I played stuff like old Need for Speed. There was like it was like a SpongeBob SquarePants game with orange slimy things. I forget what it's called. You like joined up with like other Nickelodeon characters and fought, and that was probably like one of the first games I think I 100%ed. Eventually, my mother and father got divorced. My mother kept the PS3 that we had. I switched over to PS3 games. I got into Final Fantasy. I got into Call of Duty. My first Call of Duty game I ever played was Modern Warfare 2. I didn't ever speak on mic, but I was like one of those speakers playing like a Call of Duty game. All right, so yeah, I got into Call of Duty, and so like that went from Modern Warfare 2 eventually to Black Ops, which was like my main Call of Duty game. I fucking love Black Ops. Best fucking game. And then I had all the map packs. I did like the entire Easter egg for Moon and got like past round 50. And I did this all with my dad like at the time, but I had to get off early, so it didn't save any of my fucking stats. So I'm really disappointed about that because I can't show it at the end. It's like one of those little accomplishments, and I'm like, come on, bring it back. I think that was around that time that I also got into Minecraft as well. Played Minecraft on PlayStation 3. There's a lot of other games, like I had Skylanders, I had more Final Fantasy games. Soul Calibur 4 was a good one if you ever played Soul Calibur 4 back in the day. That was really fun. That's also where I got my love and my favorite game of Final Fantasy 9, although it was the like PS1 version. Eventually, I moved from PlayStation games to my laptop that was really just like a school laptop, but I managed to play games on it, like a really shitty one. That's where like I kind of got into like computer gaming, so more Minecraft, because I played like the cracked versions of the game. Not more, but that's where my love of Smite came from. Paladins, and I basically played that on the laptop like all through high school. Couldn't play Overwatch. Well, I could play for a little bit. This is like 2018 era, so this isn't too long ago, but let me see if I can pull. I swapped them over from my laptop onto this. Eventually, Overwatch stopped working on my laptop, so I couldn't play it anymore. I had to play on like a friend's laptop. Yeah, I got like fucking highlights all the way back from like 2018. I used to be called Night Cypher. Eventually, I changed my name to Astal around this time. I also used to be known as like Ragnarok. That was my name before Night Cypher. So a lot of my old games that I used to play also had my Ragnarok name in it. And yeah, it basically went from there. I kept playing Smite. Eventually, after I got out of high school, I think after even my like first year of college, I ended up getting a job at like Walmart, and I bought my I bought my first desktop, and it's been computer gaming ever since for me. I did get like a PS5 and a Switch like back then. I don't really play those as much as the PC though. But that is how I got into gaming, and by extension, how I got to where I am today, I guess you could say, with what games I play and what games I enjoy. Like a whole like gaming history of Astal. All right, so what made you play certain heroes? I guess this is a question more along the lines of like, why do I play like my main, I guess you could say, or my mains. I started Overwatch as like a bit of a Hanzo main, I guess you could say. I feel like a lot of people start as Hanzo mains. Like, is it just something that draws us to the game? Is Hanzo's like thick cheeks, or I don't know. I played him for a little bit. Eventually, I think I don't have my history anymore, but I was playing like everything in silver and I wanted to improve at the game. So I started watching like a little bit of videos, like not necessarily what characters to play, but like what to do to improve. And one of those suggested playing just focusing on just one role, one hero. I don't know if I was watching like ML7 at the time. I can't really tell you, but Ana just kind of drove me to that place. If we look at like the supports that were in the game at the time, if we go ahead and look at this, the only supports that were in the game, I think it was Ana, maybe Brig, Moira, no. I don't think, no, Moira hadn't come out yet. I think Brig was before Moira. Zenyatta, Mercy, and Lucio. Those were the supports that we had in the game. I'm sorry to tell you that Lucio, I wanted to support because I liked the playstyle, but Lucio Mercy didn't do it for me. Zen didn't do it for me because I feel like I had to be like superly mechanical skilled on Zen. And Brig wasn't like, Brig was weird. Brig was strong, but Brig was just, I don't know, I didn't feel it. Ana was like the one where like, it felt like I could improve my skill at the same time and like grow with it. And she had a lot of stuff in her kit that I feel like after playing her for a bit, I could really like carry the team in a sense. Like if I landed like a huge anti-nade or got like a good sleep on an ultimate or something like that. I don't know, her style just kind of drove me to, I don't really have like a good explanation for it. It's just like, you know, I wanted to be grandma. I wanted to be like, this was my hero that I chose and I sunk all the time into. I know that's not really a good answer, and I probably would have prepped for that better, but that was kind of like who I went with there. I eventually just moved to like meta playing whatever was like good at the time, so it in support, and just kept focusing on that. Eventually climbed all the way up to masters on support, and I was like, okay, let's see what we can do on the other roles. And I played Ashe on DPS. I started as a Tracer main, actually. I was going to climb my DPS because I was at Masters on support, and I was like, I like Masters. I'm just going to stop there. I know I could keep going, but I want to see how high I can get my other roles, because I feel like every time I play them, people look at them, they're like, oh, you don't play the other roles. And I was like, I'm going to show them. I'm going to show that I can do better than what people expect, and I'm not just like a silver DPS player, because that's what I had before I got to Masters in support. I did that in like 2 or 3 seasons. So people would go back and check my history, and they'd be like, oh, you were a silver like DPS player, you fucking suck. I tried to do that, and I tried to do DPS first. I went with Tracer. I went with Tracer first. I tried to watch guys. I tried to get better at her. I just wasn't good at Tracer. I got people on the Overwatch University subreddit telling me like, maybe you're just not a good Tracer. And I was like, well, that's like disappointing to hear and not really like encouraging to learning, because like they're saying I'm playing Tracer like more like a sniper, and telling me to like maybe try different heroes. I thought about it for a second. I was like, okay, maybe let me try that. So I think it was around that time that Ashe was released, or ish around there. I'm not 100% sure. So I started playing a few Ashe games, and that Ashe eventually led me to being like more of a hit scan main when I used to play DPS, and she was my favorite character to play. So that's why I played Ashe. I don't really know. I wasn't really good enough to play like Widowmaker, but Ashe kind of fit like that in between like something like Cassidy, which I really didn't feel too super good at, and something like Widow. That's who the pick was, and I wasn't a projectile player. I knew I was a hit scan player, and that's kind of who I chose. None of the other hit scans really did it for me. Eventually went to tank. Not really find any tanks that I kind of synergized with, but Double Shield was going on at the time. So what I naturally did was just, you know, I'm just going to play Double Shield. And I became a fucking Sigma main. I know he doesn't have as much hours as like my Reinhardt here, but that's because I just love playing Reinhardt more in like a casual sense. So my Rein has a lot more hours. But Sigma was like my main because Double Shield was a thing for so long. And I was a pretty good Sigma. I would always be comboing with my Orisa. Like whenever she sucked people in, I'd throw a fucking rock at them and they'd die. That was fun times. But yeah, that's kind of what led me to play like certain heroes. So now we're on the next set of questions here. And these are from Age or Age Code. So what he said was, what would be your top 3 games that you would recommend people to play? Or this would have been one of the questions that I should like think about a little bit more. On the very top, Final Fantasy IX. If you like old, semi-old JRPGs, and if you like a good story, like a really good like heartfelt story with a bunch of fantastic characters, Final Fantasy IX. All the way. Number one choice. Every time. My favorite game. Then number two, obviously, would probably be Overwatch, because I know like it's hard to recommend Overwatch to people. Like, who wants to play this game? But there's a lot that I love about Overwatch. I love the heroes. I love the interactions. I love the war. I love the lore. I love the gameplay, the gunplay, how it kind of feels like a MOBA, but like a shooter at the same time. There's a reason I've been playing this game for almost 2,000 hours. That would be my second recommendation. Even though it feels like it's really toxic, it's really hard to get into. Get a group of friends together and play it, and friends that aren't going to be like negative and toxic all the time. Just like some positive people that aren't going to shit on the game, which is hard to find these days, but if you can, it really is an enjoyable experience. And then for the third game, and this is hard. I think I'm gonna go based on like my most played games. I'd either go with World of Warcraft or Smite. I'm gonna put a tie there for them. I know you said 3 games, but this is 4 games. I'm gonna put a tie for third on Smite or World of Warcraft. Smite, because I have a lot of, like, my entire high school years was like playing Smite. It's a MOBA. Smite is the reason I feel like I got into Overwatch. Like, I was not an FPS gamer besides maybe Call of Duty. I was not really an FPS computer gamer at all before that point in time. It was just, there was so much strategy involved, and I love that part about it. And there was a lot of like, I don't know, the MOBA parts, this is why I love the MOBA parts of Overwatch so much, or like what used to be there, because it felt really good. It has like over 100 characters you can play. The only thing bad about it is that it's made by a fucking shitty company. And then World of Warcraft would be the second one, because I have probably put more time into World of Warcraft than Overwatch or Smite. I don't think combined, but it's definitely quite a bit. Over 2,000 hours in World of Warcraft. I think I'm like 1,800. I think it's over 2,000. I think I'm at like 1,800 in Overwatch. If you ever get the chance to play an MMO and like really get into it, you can get through the like first 60 levels really easy, and you can get into the late game. But here's the real reason why I recommend. WoW has such a good long story and so much content. Any old MMO does have like so much content, but WoW has so much, like 20 years worth of content. There is literally so much in that game. But what I love most about it, like out of any other game, is just, it's easier to make friends and find a community. You go find like a raiding guild and you try raiding. These are people that you get to meet like every week. You become friends with them. It's really good. It's a really good feeling when you have like that like sense of community. And I really had like, I didn't really have that at that time, I guess you could say. World of Warcraft has a lot of other things to love about it too, but the community is probably one of my favorite things when you get into like a guild and you start playing with people and get to know them and stuff like that. That's the fun part. What's your favorite animal? Anime, my bad. My favorite animal is a cat. I'm just gonna say that right now if that wasn't apparent. What's your favorite anime? Okay. Well, actually, this isn't a tough one. My favorite anime is Sword Art Online. I know a lot of people give Sword Art Online shit, but that is the one that I enjoyed the most. That kind of, I think I read somewhere about like the whole, they get trapped in like the idea of getting trapped in a game and then getting like, if you die in the game, you die in real life. I know that's not necessarily like it wasn't like the only concept out there at the time. But I feel like it did it really good at like the first part, and even though it skipped a bunch, I feel like the first season of Sword Art Online was a really fun watch. Also, probably contributing to one of the reasons I got into MMOs, because I wanted to find a MMO that had a dual wielding aspect like Kirito in Sword Art Online. Next question. Which Overwatch hero would you cosplay as? I don't think I can pull off a cosplay for any Overwatch hero, but let me take a look here. Not even Hanzo? No, I don't think I can pull off a Hanzo. I would look like a bad Hanzo. I'm like, I feel like I would honestly want to cosplay as my main, but like with like a hidden face, like Shriek or something. Maybe Reaper, maybe like default Reaper, because it also covers your face. I don't know. I don't like people seeing me, I guess. What's the most embarrassing thing you've done on stream that you hope no one noticed? I don't think I've done anything embarrassing on stream. Have I? I don't think I've done anything that I would consider it like embarrassing on stream. I might I'll make jokes about stuff, but it's not necessarily like I'm embarrassed about it. I'm just having fun with it, right? Well, okay. That I don't know. The way I described eating pickles that one time, that was pretty that was funny, but that wasn't like that wasn't supposed to come out that way. That was one of the you could probably consider that as like an embarrassing moment. There's a clip of that somewhere. Hope no one noticed though. I don't know about hope no one noticed. I don't know if there would be any of those because I don't feel like I've done any that I hope no one noticed. It's just some weird moments. I don't know. If you had to delete one game from existence, which would it be and why? A game from I wouldn't delete any games from existence. All the games I've played are beautiful. Can we delete Gundam Evolution? That game is already dead. I'm just gonna say, because you said yes, I'm just gonna say we delete, let's say we delete Gundam Evolution before it came out. Just so nobody loses any money. No harm done. No fouls, right? Squirtle, Charmander, or Bulbasaur? I had to think about this. And I was like, Cyndaquil, right? Gen 2 is when I, like, quote-unquote started playing Pokemon, but not really because it was the remake. But if I had to choose a starter, like a general, Cyndaquil. I just, like, blow the list out of the water, Cyndaquil. If I had to choose the three that you've given, like, definitively, it would... If I had played Pokemon back in the day, it would probably be Bulbasaur. I like the way Bulbasaur looks. Squirtle looks too, like... mean, and Charmander was just, I don't know. Charmander going into Charizard was kind of weird, but Bulbasaur going into Venusaur was kind of cool. All right, that's the YouTube celebration. I don't know what we're gonna do for 200 subscribers, but sometime in the future.